Went with my friend to go and watch AEW. This was actually a two-night event. On Saturday, we went to Collision, and on Sunday, we went to Wrestle Dream. To be honest, I don't know too much about professional wrestling, but I definitely enjoy going with my friend and seeing his eyes light up and really enjoy the energy of the room, and there definitely is energy there. So it's really a fun experience, and I've learned a lot going to these events with him, both AEW and WWE. Hello everybody, I hope you're all doing well. Let's see what we get into today. Maybe it'll involve a little bit of this right here. Got this computer an unexpected way this week. We recently moved into a new warehouse at work, and this was left behind in one of the closets. So I decided to take it home, and let's see what we can do with it. So this is obviously a Dell Dimension E310. It says so right on the front there. And we have Windows XP and a Pentium 4 with hyperthreading. The funny thing is that I believe I already have one of these in the collection back home, and I picked up another style of this case right here from the thrift store a little while back. This one's a 9200. So there's not much really to see on the outside here. Pretty much a basic Dell, well, I believe this was like a BTX style case. And the certificate is gone. I don't know if they ripped it off or if it just came off by accident or what from wherever it was used. My best guess is it was used for security cameras because it was in the same closet as some security camera stuff. So maybe it has something to do with that. As you can see, it's quite dirty. I mean, it was used in a warehouse. On the back, of course, we have the power supply, some basic ports. Interestingly, you know, we do have onboard video here, but it does have a video card installed and a modem. I wonder if the video card is original to this build when somebody built it, or if it was an add-on, being that there's not a cover over this port right here. So pretty basic. There's not even PS2 mouse and keyboard ports on here. It's just totally gone. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could be here, but it's just absolutely missing. Here's the 9200 Core 2 Duo next to it, and it's definitely a little taller. I didn't expect that. But, you know, it also has a graphics card, and looks like you get two more USB ports here on the back. No onboard video here at all. Also a lack of a lot of different ports. But we do have some extra audio things going on here. So that's the back of them kind of compared a little bit. I've always liked these Dell machines and business class ones in general for their simplicity. Now, this one may have been available to consumers as well, but, you know, maybe it, you know, some of those ideas come on over, of course. So, you know, all you have to do here is pull that back and we're in. Now, I'm sure this is supposed to reset, but it's old, you know. There's our heatsink and our graphics card. What does that say? Rage XL? Something like that. It's not even plugged in all the way. Look at that. And we have 2 sticks of memory in there. I don't see off the bat any capacitors that look bad, but you know, there might be some underneath here that I can't see. I did take out the hard drive at the shop. It is a 80 gig hard drive. Up here we have our I/O for the front. I don't know what's missing here, but there's something not plugged in. And that's really about it for what's in here. Not much. On the door here we have the 13th of December 2005. I believe the other one is a 2007 of some type. Got it all hooked up. So I'm going to turn the power strip on. And it sounds like it did something for a split second there. And let's hit the power button. Oh, I didn't even hit it. It just started doing stuff. Okay. We're getting somewhere. Let's just see what it does if it just starts right up. No, let's continue. Why not? It's definitely doing something. Dell.com. No, Windows XP. Okay. You can definitely hear that hard drive. Can't say I've heard a SATA hard drive that sounds like that. It's probably just well used because it probably was just running all the time. I'll have to stop the video if something comes up that you can't really show. Well, I don't see anything. In fact, there's no light on the mouse. I wonder if it's outputting through the other one now, or the other VGA port. So I literally unplugged it out of the graphics card and just plugged it in up there, and we're working now. Interesting. I wonder if it's a Chinese like Windows XP install or what. I'm not entirely sure, and this could be a total different language, but I do know that the tenants that were in there before us look like some type of a Chinese company, so I'm sure they had, you know, employees and such, so they could probably understand all this. Well, okay, we got a mouse, and you have files waiting to be written to the CD. What is there, a CD in here? Cannot complete the CD writing. Oh yeah, there is. It's a DVD. There's something on it. Is it a DVD writer? I think so. I'm not sure. CD name 2005. Goodness. Cancel that. What is this thing? Yeah, because I can read whatever that says. I have no idea what that is. Is that some type of antivirus? Is that like Norton or something? Or whatever that is that has the different colors? I don't even remember. Oh my gosh, it wants something. Interesting. Okay, well, we have Universal and whatever all this other stuff is. Oh, one thing I do want to look at though, before we move on with changing the drive and stuff like that, is what exactly do we have in here? What's the OEM install? Okay. Yeah, Windows XP. Oh, Media Center Edition. So, I mean, it may have came with Media Center Edition. I'm not entirely sure. To be honest, I think the other one I had Media Center Edition as well. But of course, I just installed Professional on it. And I could tell that something wasn't exactly right because this was a different color blue than normal. Service Pack 3, Universal, it is OEM. We only have 512 megabytes of RAM. I wonder how high this goes, if it goes to a gig or two. Not entirely sure. And now it's time to clean the insides, which isn't that bad to be real honest. You know, just some dust, dirt here and there, but not, you know, nothing too terrible. I mean, the fins have a little bit on them, but it's not totally clogged up. This card is from the year 2000. I mean, it's just a ATI Rage XL, and like, they must have pulled this out of something else and put it in here thinking that, oh, a graphics card is going to be better than this, but the hardware is from 2005. Why would you put a graphics card in from 2000? And if I'm right, I don't even think this was the highest end thing really at the time, so it's not even worth having it in here, I think. I just noticed something while taking apart these cables. I think something got really hot. I've never liked having to put new heatsink compound on anything, but you know what? Sometimes that's what you have to do to clean stuff, especially in these weird style of cases. You can't even get to the fan without opening this cover, and opening this cover releases the heatsink. So, you know what? We'll just do it. It's the right thing to do. That definitely needs a clean. My goodness. Definitely a little bit of smoking going on, I believe, especially with the dark soot color of the dust. Definitely needs it under here. And just like that, nothing is left in the machine. Now it's time to clean all the parts up. This fan is beyond nasty. Let's see what we can do to clean it up. Certainly a lot better than it was. Everything's been cleaned up. I didn't do that yet. I need to do that. But everything's been cleaned up. And I noticed on the front panel here that one of the USB ports is totally destroyed. And I'm wondering if, because it's grounding there on the outside casing, if that has something to do with this being all burnt up. You know, maybe it was just grounded and it just destroyed that component. I mean, it does connect right there. But now, we'll get the motherboard put back in here, clean off the heatsink compound and all that, get some new stuff on there, and put it back together. And there's our processor. There we are, all back together on the inside. I have some more RAM that I'm going to put in here versus the 512 megabytes that it had. Move the hard drive down one notch to put the SSD on top. And yeah, it's looking nice. I also straightened out the wires in the USB port here so they're not touching each other or the casing, and put a couple layers of electrical tape over it to make it look nice. Now, just need to clean the outside. The outside's all cleaned up. I even removed the leftover sticker here on the top, and it turned out pretty good. The front's looking nicer than it did before, and I mean, the sides weren't too bad to start with, but definitely not as dusty as was before, and I'm sure it'll be much happier now running nice and clean. Of course, let's turn on the power strip here and make sure that our changes have worked. I did put some more RAM in here, a 2 gigabyte stick and a 1 gigabyte stick. And again, it's just turning on. I did go into the settings and change them, but the button cell here, you know, it just doesn't have power anymore. So I got to get some more of those. But let's go into the setup utility and make sure it probably went back to defaults. But there's our 3 gigs of RAM. Of course, processor is a 2.8 gigahertz. I don't remember what my other system like this has in it. Might be the same exact thing for all I know. That's all messed up, but that'll be fixed once we get a battery. If I can think of words today. What did I want? Oh, performance. This is where you can enable hyper-threading. So we'll turn that on. And we'll save and exit. That'll give it a little more execution. I mean, it does have it. It says so right there. Might as well use it. I find it interesting that they turned that off by default from the factory. Maybe there was a reason for that. I'm not entirely sure. We'll just continue. I'm sure, you know, the floppy disk thing was disabled in the BIOS originally, but of course the battery is no good. So yeah, it forgot. Looks like we're booting into Windows XP here just fine again. Media Center Edition. Now, I didn't have an SSD for this. I had one laying around that was a 500 gig, but I want to save that for something a little more modern. I usually put a 120 or 256 gig one in here, or in Windows XP machines, just because stuff just doesn't take up as much space as newer ones. And they're just so cheap nowadays, it's so easy to do. So, we're here on the desktop, everything looks to be just fine. And we got our little weird, this must be like a CPU or RAM indicator or something, because before when we did it, it was in the orange and red. Now it's in the green. And if you click on it, I don't know, those must be programs running. You can see McAfee or whatever. Anyway, I'm sure it's much happier with a little bit more RAM in it. There we go. Yep, 3 gigs of RAM. I'm not sure what the maximum is. I ended up getting some more of those really low profile sticks that I put in the other machine because they're just so cheap. I'm sure they're used or something, but you know, never bad having some extras hanging around. So we'll put 4 in here and see if it can do anything. I think the highest it can do is like 3.5 or something. So maybe I'll just leave it at 3. Haven't decided yet, but a little bit more RAM for it there. And yeah, so there it is. We'll just wait for the SSD to come this week and the RAM. And then we'll go from there. We'll get Windows XP Professional put on here. And hopefully it'll authenticate itself. The Dell disk I have for these machines Usually if it's within a certain period, I thought it was any Dell machine, it just authenticates itself automatically, so hopefully it'll just do that. That's always nice. While that's shutting down, I did end up going to the thrift store today. Ended up picking up this GE single socket porcelain lamp holder. I've never seen one in a package like this before. Usually they're in a box or something. And I believe it's one of those mostly plastic ones. So like the main the main part here is ceramic, I'm sure, and the top piece here is probably plastic. And then of course you can see the whole socket itself is a plastic assembly. But what made me really pick it up is it has one of the wonderful old Bell pull chains in there. You can kind of see it. Very cool. A little much. I mean, you could pick one of these up at the hardware store for the same price. I mean, it is new, so I guess whatever, but yeah. Let's see. They probably stapled, oh, they stapled twice through it. Isn't that nice of them? I'll try to get that off, and there we have some dates. That's pretty cool. Yeah, this packaging is just neat, and so that's why I picked that up. I also picked up this old Simon Says game. Now, this caught my eye because the Maritime Girl did a video on these Simon Says devices, the original ones like this one. And, of course, I saw it on the shelf. It piqued my interest. I had to pick it up, especially for $350. I don't know if it works. It has batteries in it. It doesn't turn on. I'm sure the batteries are old as can be. It takes a 9-volt and some D batteries here. And I opened it up at the store just to make sure that there's no corrosion. And I didn't see any corrosion. Now these batteries do say 2025 on them, but I mean, they could be, really old. These dates on them can go for a while. So I'll need to pick up some new batteries and see if we can get this thing working. But there's no corrosion in that compartment, and I didn't see any in the 9-volt one here either, which is, a positive sign. This one says 2023, so that's definitely older. They wouldn't date it, the same date as this year. So we'll definitely have to pick up some new batteries for it. But other than that, it's in pretty good condition. Made in the USA. Of course, they probably all said that. But, yeah, if you want to know more information about these wonderful old Simon Says games, go and check out the Maritime Girl's video on them. Very informative. Lots of information there. You think I'd remember some of it on how to identify this particular model from some of the other ones, but you know what? I just don't remember much of anything. I watch a lot of videos, and, and then time goes by, and then I forget stuff. But this caught my eye because of her video, and I definitely wanted to pick it up, so that's pretty cool. I also picked up something else as well. So what is this other item? It's an iPad, of all things, for $14. Yeah, I'm surprised too. Let's go back a little bit and share a little bit of story behind this thing here. A couple weeks ago, I went to the same thrift store, and behind the jewelry counter, they had a first generation iPad for $20. It was in decent condition. I took a look at it. It turned on. It had somebody's passcode on it and stuff, and it needed to be plugged into iTunes. And I didn't know too much about removing accounts and things from these devices, especially if they're iCloud locked. Like, that's just a hassle and a half. But maybe that's not a problem on iOS 5, which is the maximum version you could put on the first generation iPad. Anyway, I ended up passing it up just because I already have a first generation iPad in the collection that is in literally mint condition. And I used that thing quite a bit back in college when you could actually still watch YouTube and, Netflix and things on iOS 5. And it worked fantastic for that. I really loved the design of it. A very cool device. I also have a iPad 4th gen that I used at that time too, but that's, aside from the story. So, yes, they had one there, the iPad 1st gen. Like I say, I already had one, so I just passed it up. I didn't know how to get rid of the lock or any of that, so whatever. Pass it up, $20, whatever. Okay, go back this week, And this is sitting there, same spot, but it's different, obviously. It's got a different price on it. It's $13.99 this time. And it's curved. It's not flat on the sides like the first generation iPad is. So I could tell it was either a second or third gen iPad. One of the two. It had to have been one of the two. It wouldn't be a fourth because the fourth gen has the lightning connector, and this one still has 30 pin. So I decided to, have them so I could look at it again. You just ask them behind the counter there and they'll hand it to you. And it didn't turn on. The lady said, yeah, it was working earlier, but it probably died or something. And they said the reason it's $14 is it has somebody's iCloud lock on it. Like, they couldn't get it to sign in to reboot it or anything. It had a passcode and it locked itself out for X amount of time, and they just couldn't do anything with it. So thus the $13.99 price here. I thought, well, you know what? I passed up that one last week. My parents had an iPad second generation. It's probably still back home, I'm sure. But if it's a third gen, that's pretty cool. I don't have one of those in the collection. So I thought $14, let's pick it up and see what we get. So, of course, you go through, pick it up with all the other stuff, bring it home. I charged it. Boy, it took forever to charge, but boy, does it hold a charge. And here we are. What do we have? Well, it's an iPad, and it is the third generation. So this was the first one to have the Retina display. And you can see there, just the detail in the clock, for example. Yes, a third generation iPad for $14. Now, they said that it had a lock on it and everything, but once I got it booted back up, it didn't have this. It came right up with the setup screen. So I went through the setup, and it went just fine. Here we are. There was no lock or anything on it. Now, the only thing I can think of is maybe they did see a lock or something on it, but maybe it needed to be rebooted to get rid of it. I'm not sure. Maybe the person that had it before moved it away from their account, took it off of their iCloud account and reset it remotely before it went and just needed to be restarted. I don't know. But I didn't experience any of the problems that they said they were having with it. It's set up just fine, and here we are. It's amazing. Okay, so that's it. The screen is great. There's no scratches, a bunch of fingerprints just from everybody handling it, I'm sure. And on the back, it obviously has a couple of scratches here and there, and somebody did engrave it. So this must have been the original owner, Michael C. Wilson, and that must be their username or something. So I did, of course, a Facebook search to find this person. There's a couple of them in the Seattle area. And then that username shows up for like a Porsche forum for cars and stuff. So I'm not sure. It must be one of those people, and they just didn't need it anymore, and they gave it to the thrift store of all places. But there's no dents. There's just some scratches. And you can tell around the Apple logo there and corners, it lived most of its life without a case. But on the front, it definitely must have had one of the iPad, open and close sleep-wake covers, because there's no scratches on the front. It's just the back here. So I went on Amazon. You could still get cases for these things for like $10. So I ordered a case when I got everything else for the computer, and that's coming. So this is really cool. I did not expect to find a $14 iPad. Little, history there with whoever engraved it at the top. Some local person. So very, very cool. A nice addition to the collection. The other thing I wanted to say is that these older iPads, like the first to the fourth, have amazing battery life. Now, I have an iPad Air 3rd generation, but all of these older ones that I've used, the battery life is just outstanding. Like my 4th gen one, when I do use it, you can use it and then let it sit for like 3 weeks and it still has battery. It's amazing. Like this I charged last night to 85%. I've used it a bit today, and it's still at 85%. It didn't even go down. It's crazy. Now, granted, it's not connected to internet or anything yet. I just set it up real quick, so I haven't synced it with my account or anything, but, just the battery life of these things is outstanding. Some goodies came in this week. We got some SSDs here. One of them's for the XP machine out in the garage that we've been working on. And I got another pack of RAM that I used in another machine because it's so cheap, so I thought I'd pick up another one. And the other SSD is just to have around so I don't have to wait next time. The other thing I picked up is this Intermatic surge protector, brownout device, kind of all the above. It's for the heat pump outside, so we'll have to install this. It's just to protect against all that because of the circuitry inside. You don't want any surges or low voltage to happen and ruin any of the components. I don't know if that's under warranty. I don't believe so. So this will protect against that. Hopefully it's not too bad to install. Looks like it's pretty decent from my research and everything. So definitely need to do that as well. But for now, let's go ahead and put some upgrades in our computer. I also have a new battery here, so we'll install that too. Again, nice part is it's really easy to open this thing up. And let's see, where's the battery? Right there. There we go. And we have our 1 and 2 gig stick. We're going to try putting this two 2 gig sticks in there, see if we can get 4 gigs, but I don't think it'll allocate all that. I think it'll allocate like only 3.5 or something, but you know, just having some extras around is nice. So even if I don't continue to use it in here, at least I have some extras laying around, but we'll try it anyway. So I'm gonna open these items up and we'll get them installed. We got the SSD installed the best way possible, of course, just sitting here. It's in a plastic enclosure, so it's not gonna short out on anything. And we have the 2 low profile 2 gig sticks installed. Again, we'll see. It probably does like 3.5 or something, but if it does 3.5, I'll just put those other 2 back in there because that'll be fine and save these for another project. But again, we'll just try it out. So I'll close this up and well, if I can, and we'll get Windows XP installed. Now hopefully, being a Dell reinstall disk, it'll automatically activate it. I think it did that on the other Optiplex that we did a while back from the thrift store. I thought it did it too with the other, you know, Windows versions, but from our experience with the other newer dimension like this, it didn't work. So hopefully it'll work here. Maybe that was just a feature of the XP ones, or maybe you have to have a machine within a certain time period for it to work correctly. Okay, I'm going to plug it in. The reason I say that is sometimes it just starts turning on by itself. Yep, see, I didn't. It's just going. So, let's go into the BIOS here, and we'll set some things up, because now that we finally have a battery in here, we can actually set the date and time and configuration of drives, and it'll actually remember it. Okay, we got the 4 gig showing up. We got the date and time set, and we got the floppy drive turned off and whatnot. So we will escape, and we will save and exit. And I'm sure it won't. Oh, I had the CD there, but it already took it in for us. And I turned hyper-threading on. So it'll probably find our XP disk. Must be what it's looking for. It's not complaining about anything, at least at the moment. But I don't hear the drive spinning up. I'm thinking something is wrong with this disk drive. While when the machine originally booted up, it would spin this disk up, and never really got it to read anything, but it would spin up. I can't even get it to spin up. It's just searching. You can hear it, you know, the head moving, but it never spins up. So let me get another drive. After taking way too long to find this thing, here's a Sony drive. I got this originally for a computer project a long time ago, that Pentium, original Pentium, that I picked up from the thrift store for $5. Never was able to get it to work in there just because of many other problems that it had, but I picked it up not only because of that machine, I picked up 2 at that time, but just to have it around. Sony is good, so let's go ahead and put it in here. Now it obviously doesn't match, so I'll find something that does eventually, but this one is IDE. The others I have are SATA, which would work, but this one does an IDE drive, so we'll just keep it with that. Okay, now we should get a light. There we go. Yep, can't find anything. Let's see if it opens. It does. It doesn't have a color matched tray. That's interesting. Okay, here's our disc again. I really don't want to scratch that up. Oh, okay. Maybe this front tray piece here is too big. Let's try that again. Okay, there. Yeah, it definitely doesn't like this case too well. Let's see if it spins that up. Okay. Definitely getting somewhere with the old Sony. Yeah, getting much further than this e-waste. Okay, well that fits the screen great, but you know what, that don't matter right now. It's just going to be another typical Windows XP setup. While I go search for drivers, we are on Service Pack 2. So let's get Service Pack 3 installed. Also, it does only use and see 3 gigs of RAM, so I'm going to put those other sticks back in there. We got the appropriate drivers installed, Service Pack 3, and audio. So, we'll let it be for now, and we'll come back later and get some software installed. But there we go.